let's move on to basketball.
Oh, you guys killed it. You guys killed it. I'll go
Yeah,
ahead and take it. You've been talking enough. Go
good.
ahead.
I can, I can,
Sit
I,
down.
I,
Sit
I
down,
can go
child,
now.
please. He's going to go because he's probably going to go cry. Because unfortunately, it is some sad news in the world of basketball right now. Gregg Popovich suffered a health issue before the Spurs' 113-103 win against the Timberwolves. And assistant Mitch Johnson is expected to be the interim head coach for an indefinite period of time. We talked about that before the show, that indefinite period of time, and how much of an exclamation point that it puts on the sentence itself, or just that statement. So, but more details. Or after the game, Chris Paul said Mitch did a great job. I think our whole coaching staff did. Things happen within this league all the time, and just like with the players, it's next man up. So shout out to Mitch. He did a great job tonight. The Spurs said on Monday that Pop has an undisclosed illness. Chris Paul also spoke about Pop, saying, "I've only been with the team now for a few months, but I've paid attention to Pop my entire career. Probably losing to him because the dude's a beast." But he also goes on to say, and I think he's one of the best, if not the best, putting everything into perspective. He's so selfless. He makes sure we understand how privileged we are to play this game and to be in the NBA. And he'd be the first person to tell you not to worry about him and to go out and hoop. But of course, all the guys within with our team, staff, everyone definitely miss him because he's Pop. So there's a feeling when he's in the room that just comforts everybody. And that was Chris Paul, who's only been there for a few months, apparently being the spokesperson for the entire team. Probably more so because he's on the Players Association. But Popovich is the NBA's career leader with 1,390 victories. And also 170 postseason wins are within that, while winning 5 NBA titles. He is the 29 in his 29th season, and it's crazy, but it's all been with San Antonio. And you hate to kind of see kind of the sun setting on his career, because he was been huge and instrumental in the sport of not just winning, but really kind of having a little bit of a paradigm shift whenever he kind of came in the way that he kind of attacked coaching, but also just working with the multitude of incredible players. David Robinson, the general, back in the day, or admiral. But anyways, yeah. So what are your thoughts on Pop?
Well, anytime someone talks about how like Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA right now, and as much as as a Heat fan, I'm like, he is one of the best coaches. I always say, but Pop is still a coach in the NBA. So for right now, Pop is the best coach. And so it's sad to see, even though he's beat my Miami Heat, I still love him. And that's just the kind of person that he is and the kind of coach that he's been. And it's sad. I hope he's okay. Prayers to him and his family. I hope it's nothing too serious. But I know San Antonio loves that man, and so prayers up to him.
Yeah, Josh, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, I know people are tired of hearing me talk. I'm sorry. I was excited about my foosball, man. Anyway, yeah, Gregg Popovich is other than Phil Jackson, is the best coach in the NBA history I've ever seen, as far as my lifetime. Now I know Pat Riley was coaching, but he was a little bit like all of his accomplishments happened a little bit before I realized what basketball was. So it was Phil Jackson and became Gregg Popovich, because he took over that Tim Duncan, David Robinson teams. And people thought that coming out of college, Tim Duncan, people thought, oh, he's slow. He can't do this. He can't do that. No, he can. He's regarded as one of the best, to me, is the best power forward to ever play the game. And I don't. You can't sit there and talk about Tim Duncan without talking about Gregg Popovich. And then you see the hack-a-shack. Like I remember one game, I think it was when Shaq was playing for the Suns, literally the tip happened, and then they just go and hug Shaq, and Shaq like looks over, and Gregg Popovich is doing like he was just toying with him like during a regular season.
Yeah.
And then when his wife passed away, unfortunately, I think it was like 3 years ago, and they were asking, go look at the clip of Kevin Durant, and who's never played for Pop other than like international like Team USA stuff, but who's never really played for Pop. But this is how much respect he has. Is when they told him they broke the news to Durant about his wife passing away, and he was speechless. Like he was so just brokenhearted over the fact that he lost his wife, and you knew that he had those relationships with players that weren't even on his team. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who is the NBA, and I hope he's doing well. I hope he can at least, because I heard last night it wasn't good. What we were hearing of his health, and it sucks. And just Gregg, just get better. You've been so detrimental for NBA and for basketball, and in our American landscape on like that. You don't do this for this many years for the Spurs and having this much accomplishments without making a social impact as well. And I want him to go out in his own terms and not because God told him, hey, it's done.
And when you talk about Popovich as well, like you got to talk about his coaching tree as well. And we're going to get even more into that when we talk a little WNBA later. But just everything that he's done as just the head coach of San Antonio for that long. I'm 30 years old, and he has been the coach for 29 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I thank you for bringing that up, how progressive he's been as far as a coach and assistant coaches, which we'll get into. Shout out Becky Hammon. Spoiler alert, that's what we're probably going to talk about. But he was, I think Becky was the first female assistant, at least of a coach in the NBA history. And Pop was the one that first brought her on. Yep. So.
And honestly, though, I mean, like with with Popovich, it's just – he's the GOAT. I mean, Phil Jackson is there as well as
Red Auerbach,
previous coaches. Yeah, but it's just I mean, I grew up with Phil for a little bit, but Pop is really the one I intentionally watched because I hated him because every time like the team I was kind of cheering for that season or kind of following, I mean, he just wrecked us, and then whenever we got the Thunder. I mean, it was just they were always the hurdle that we had to try to surpass, and regardless of what tools or players he was working with, because he was just that much of a strategist and a genius. And I think Pop has something to say about how well we did on that segment.
Nice.
There it is.
Good.
5 seconds into the game, dude.
Yeah, that's the hack of Shaq that I was talking about. Yes, great. Thank you for figuring it out. Yes, it's just Shaq looking over and be like, "What the hell?" And he's just like,
"Yeah."
Because
Shaq was very vocal about his disapproval of the hack of Shaq method.
Yeah,
and so Pop's like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're thinking of you."
Yeah, but no, it's it's Pop, man. He just and he's literally. The Bill Belichick of the NBA of just
he's like, America's grandpa.
Yeah, but yes, that's a great point too. But yeah, the Bill Belichick thing is like, did he have like the best athlete? Like yes, he did. He had solid players. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, Duncan, and and then Tim
Tony Park,
Robinson, and Duncan.
Ginobili.
Yes.
Yeah.
He still had players, but he made them better than what they were. And that's coaching.